so many times marketers will generate leads for sales and sales will say, this wasn't a valuable lead. I didn't even call it. I even used to have a customer that would say they were web leads. We worked with them for 6 months and then found out that the sales team called them web leads and didn't call them at all because they just thought they were trash.
Every lead is qualified. They need to approach every single opportunity to engage with a customer as if they have wallet in hand, ready to buy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Confessions of a Mad Marketer. This is the show where we stop pretending that we've got it all figured out in marketing and we actually talk about what has gone wrong. Because the truth is, most of what we learn doesn't come from the best practices. It comes from the stuff that we tried and didn't work and changed as a result. I am LeDonni. I'm the CMO at BMP Media, and I today am joined by Chris Wallace, the founder and CEO of InnerView Group and adjunct professor, marketing professor at Villanova, my alma mater. Love to have a fellow Villanova fan with me here today. Thanks for being here, Chris, and more importantly, thanks in advance for being willing to confess.
Go Cats. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Absolutely. Yeah, as we're recording this, the Knicks are about to head into the finals, so we're excited about that. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do. What does a day in the life look like for you?
A day in the life, huh? Oh, wow. Okay. So at InnerView Group, we're a sales performance consultancy, but we kind of take a little bit different approach to things. So really the work that we do is really about working a lot with marketers to take their go-to-market strategy, the things that the messages and themes they want to get in front of their customers, and making sure that the salespeople who interact with the customers on a human-to-human basis are really showing up and delivering those messages effectively. So really connecting the corporate folks down to the folks at the front line, making sure they show up in front of the customer effectively.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So the same message is consistent all the way through the organization, through to the customers and the prospects that they serve. That's awesome. So how did you get into that? I mean, what's the story of why we're sitting here today and where you started and where you are now?
Yeah, that's a longer story than you probably have time for on the podcast. I'll try to tell you the shortest version I possibly can. But so I'm a salesperson. I really think at heart is probably the best way to say it. And had worked early in my career in a variety of different sales roles. It's actually funny. I found myself in the early part of my career working with big brands, big corporations, and I had sales and marketing in my title multiple times. So I sort of wore both hats a lot in my role, right? I was in sort of these dual roles, had to kind of figure out both. And as I progressed in my career, I had the opportunity to sort of step away from the company that I was with as there was a merger that was happening. I stepped away and was presented with the opportunity to kind of start something on my own, and ultimately took what I learned or mainly what I suffered through as a salesperson and have tried to bring those learnings into help organizations really set their salespeople up to succeed better and ultimately close that gap between the marketing teams and the sales teams and hopefully help them live a little bit more harmoniously. So it really came through just sort of my background and let's just say opportunity.
Yeah, it's great. We talk so frequently about that disconnect between sales and marketing. And it had to be great to be in a position where you had some control over both of them. And you, instead of needing to build a bridge, it sounds like you were the bridge between those divisions, as some people call them in the company. So that's great that you're bringing that knowledge to others. So this is called Confessions for a reason. Like I said, we really believe that, those lessons learned come from some of the pain that we've experienced. What's the mistake that you made? Maybe and I'm going to ask you to give me one that you've never talked about before. Maybe, I know you do a lot of podcasts, Chris. We've known each other for a long time. What's this one mistake that you made that taught you a really valuable lesson that you now hold sacred?
Yeah, I promised you that I would share something that I've never kind of divulged before. But my partner and I, when we started InnerView Group, and this is kind of our third company together at InnerView Group, we started InnerView with the premise that we really wanted to try to help bring marketers, senior marketers, go-to-market strategists closer to what is happening at the front lines. And through that process, we developed a research methodology that was essentially trying to take market research principles and apply them to internal audiences. And think of it as not so much what your team knows, but really what do they think, right? Gathering attitudinal data from your front lines to really see, like, are they buying what you're selling to them, right? Are they really bought into what you're saying?
Wait, when you say front lines, Chris, you mean like the salespeople that are on the front lines talking to the customer, right?
Retail stores, call centers,
Okay.
anybody customer facing, right? Anybody that shows up and has a sales or customer experience exchange with your customer. We wanted to kind of hear from them. And we put a lot of time into it, and we developed the tool out, and we still use it to this day. And my confession is, we put so much time and energy into that over the years that it was going to be a killer app and a killer differentiator for our business. And we were so focused on it being different and being novel that we failed to really dive deep into whether or not it was delivering sort of game-changing value to our customers. And it sort of sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the room as it related to our go-to-market strategy. And at the end of the day, it is a great tool, but it's not what we're best at. It's not truly what we're best at. And the confession is to have spent a lot of time and money to build out something that at the end of the day wasn't really the core of the best value and really the best return that you can deliver to your customers is humbling. It's humbling. Like, we made a big bet on it. And while a valuable part of what we do, it's never turned into the killer app that we thought it was going to be. And we should have known, right? We should have known because of our expertise and really where expertise was going to come through. It enhanced our expertise, but it wasn't the core of our expertise. That was where the miss was.
Okay. So how long did you spend building this and then deploying it before you realized that you made a mistake?
Great question. It took us about 3 to 4 years of, I would say, really concerted focus and effort and dollars. I mean, product development and teams and marketing dollars and things like that. So I would say 4 full years. And we had a team working on it. We had staffed up around it. And I think the biggest issue that we had, Ben, if I'm being totally honest, was it was novel enough that I think we got some early indicators, some call them early adopters that jumped on board and saw good results from it. I think we were a little bit sort of deceived by those early wins and thinking that it was going to pick up velocity and kind of get picked up by the market much more quickly. And we found ourselves with some great proof points, but just not a lot of demand in the marketplace for it. So I think we put a lot of stock in those early wins and maybe honestly never proved product market fit. Again, a great add-on to what we do and a great enhancement to some of the projects. Absolutely. We gain great insights from it, but it just never really proved in to have that product market fit as a standalone product.
Got it. 4 years, that's a long time, Chris. You went down that rabbit hole, and obviously I know you and your personality are really gritty about when you say you're going to do something, you're going to stick to it. What was it like you woke up one morning and you were just like, this isn't working? Or was it like you're in a meeting? How did that all go down when you guys were like, we're stopping, this just isn't working?
I remember the exact moment. Honestly, I remember the exact moment. I was talking to a good friend of mine who runs an internal communications agency out of New York. Been in business a long time, like you and I have been, Ben, and been successful in her work. And she had gone through a workshop recently. We were kind of sharing war stories as founders of consulting businesses, and she shared with me an article that basically talked about the difference between a services firm and an expert firm. And it really framed this out as, if you are talking about the things that you can do for people, as opposed to the things that you can do for them that they simply cannot do for themselves and you can do better than other people, then you're missing the boat. And we'd fall into that trap, like a lot of founders do in this business, that we were focusing on the things we could do for them, but really not getting to the heart of what are we truly great at. And I read that article and I was like, we're doing this wrong. Like we're out there talking about things that we can do for them, as opposed to really talking about the things that they should be looking to us for in terms of expertise. What do we know that they don't possess internally, right? And why do we know those things? How can we prove that we know those things more than they do, with their internal team? And just that idea of thinking about the true expertise is really what flipped me and said, we're good at that and it's valuable, but it's not what we're great at. It's not what we're truly differentiated at. There's other firms that could probably outflank us as it related to gathering that type of research. So we made the decision that it's not scrapped, it's just backburnered, and we're leading with the things that we're truly great at.
Okay, yeah, it's great to know. It's hard to know when you made a mistake, right? But then once you make the mistake and you're 100% sure that this was the wrong direction, we talk about like these one-way doors or two-way doors, and like, oh man, we went down this one-way door, we can't go back. But if you can go back, then it gives you an opportunity to kind of refocus and think about which is the other door that you need to go into. So let's carry that forward. You now know this is not the direction you want to go. What has to happen there? So did you, set a meeting with the team? Did you go back to your past customers and say, hey, we're redoing this? Like, what was the next steps?
I think, where there's kind of good marketing insights in it is this was what we were leading with. This was sort of what we thought was the entree into conversations. We thought that because it was different and novel, that it would spark interest in conversations. And I will tell you that what ended up happening was exactly what we predicted. It opened up a lot of conversations, but what would happen is because it was different and because it was novel, people spun on it. Yeah, it sounds cool, but it's a little different. Not sure if it's exactly what we need. And the reality is we were putting the appetizer as the lead thing on our menu when there's a big tomahawk steak on the menu. We were just burying the lead. Right. So we chose to lead with something that wasn't necessarily ultimately going to be the premier offering that we could put in front of our ideal customers. So it wasn't a major change, but from a marketing standpoint and a positioning standpoint, we really had to say, okay, we're going to reorder this and we're going to reprioritize. So it really ended up coming down to what message you're going to lead with and what message you're going to support with. And we had to reconfigure those a bit.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, and you talk about this difference in terms of, at least from what I heard, the value that you wanted to make sure that you were demonstrating to differentiate yourself and your agency from others, and trying to make that fit with the value that you provide to the customer, because that's like the holy grail of an agency, right? You think about like, we are differentiated by what we do. We do it amazing and amazingly well, and our customers sing our praises for it. And sometimes that's all we do, right? Like it's a niche. It's just completely what we do over and over again. So I guess I'm curious, now, what do you do differently? Like now you want to position as that and bring the tomahawk to everyone. So what are you doing now as a result of the mistake that you kind of always put at the forefront?
Yeah, so that's where a lot of the work has come in. It was probably about 18 months ago that we really came to this realization, Ben. So over those last 18 months, we've done a couple of things, starting with looking at the offerings that we've built a reputation on, right? There are things that we do that have really built the core of our reputation, and where our clients see substantial ROI, not small ROI, substantial ROI. And what we've done is we've put effort into the word productize is overused, especially in the services space, but really trying to develop packages around our core services and our core expertise that are much more consumable. So just making it easier to understand, what do you get, what can you expect, all those sorts of things, and make sure that we're focusing on the ones that really deliver the highest value time and time again, right? Not just we did that once and yeah, we could do it again. What are the things we've done over and over and over again? And we've sort of narrowed that down to 3 or 4 different packages that we've really distilled down to the point where we can answer the questions much more quickly. We just relaunched our website, and we're super transparent about what they are, what type of customer they're for, how much they cost. I will tell you that was scary to put pricing, as a consultancy, to put pricing on our website, but just recognizing that the age that we're in, how that's really what you need to do, right? You kind of need to leave it all on the table. You need to educate your buyer with as much information as you possibly can. So we have really focused on those 4 or so core packages that are going to make it much more easy to access and evaluate our expertise.
That's great. Yeah, and look, it took 4 years to get there, and those mistakes that you made, or the mistake that you made, you mentioned it, but those lessons learned get you to be at the place where you are, right? So we're all growth mindset and thinking through like, hey, this is great. I made a mistake, but I'm changing and I'm going forward with it. So I'm curious because you work with a lot of, basically like front lines, you called it, where they're on the front lines and they're talking constantly to their customers. And a lot of times we're talking about demand generation, and specifically targeted demand generation. In both of those cases, the company that's advertising, marketing, speaking to their customers, they need to know what they're saying, right? They need to like make sure that their message is clear, a lot like you just shifted to make sure that you're speaking. So imagine somebody listening to this is in marketing, they're in demand generation. What's one piece of advice that you would give them that you've learned over time from working with all these frontline people? Frontline, call them customer service, call them sales, whatever they are, that needs to translate into the marketing.
Ben, this is a whole other episode. You opened a can of worms on this one. Okay, I'm gonna distill this down. Okay, I'm gonna try to pick the one that I think is um, the most impactful for the listeners. I'm super passionate about this subject. If you are driving demand, and if that could come in the form of phone calls or foot traffic or clicks, whatever it is, I think the biggest piece of advice would be impress upon your team, impress anybody that will interact directly with that customer. Every single lead is a qualified lead. Every lead is qualified. They need to approach every single opportunity to engage with a customer as if they have wallet in hand ready to buy, because the data shows us that people are not visiting your website, filling out forms, walking in your store, calling your call center, or calling your location for their health. They don't have the time. If they have taken the step to reach out to you and contact you in some way, yes, they may be reaching out to others. They may be. Who cares? If they have contacted you in some way, shape, or form, you are to treat them as if they are waving their credit card around, begging you to buy. That doesn't mean that's how you engage them from the beginning, but that should be your mindset approaching every single customer. Every lead is gold. It needs to be treated as such.
Oh man, that is so. The fact that you were in sales and marketing combined has to have played into your knowledge of that, right? Because so many times marketers will generate leads for sales and sales will say, this wasn't a valuable lead. I didn't even call it. I even used to have a customer that would say they were web leads. We worked with them for 6 months and then found out that the sales team called them web leads and didn't call them at all because they just thought they were trash. That's like eye opening, especially in this day and age when people want things on demand. Can you speak to anything about how quickly the customers these days expect to be responded to or reach back out to when they fill out a form, anything like that?
Instantaneously. I mean, I mean, again, that should be the standard, right? The goal needs to be as quick as possible. I know a retailer, I won't say who and I won't say what industry, but I know a retailer who has multiple locations, and he set up flashing lights in his location that when a web lead comes through, when a contact form is filled out and hits their inbox, a light goes off and everybody in the store is alerted to the fact that it just hit an inbox, and the expectation is that they're reaching back out to those folks immediately. The number of leads that people waste because they think, oh, they're not really interested, or they are qualifying these folks out before they've ever had any contact with them. The amount of money being wasted on marketing because leads aren't followed up on it makes me sick to my stomach. You are
I
pushing business away.
I hear it. I love to hear it, and I think our audience needs to hear it as well. All right, so last question for me. You go back and you're able to sit down with Chris of 4 years ago, who was about to go down the process of creating the survey, the initial product, the appetizer, as you call it. What's the advice that you would give him besides just saying don't do it? What would you have asked him to do instead or first?
Just don't be afraid to say what you're great at. I mean, don't be afraid to get. I think you get afraid of being typecast. I mean, I'll tell you another confession. I don't know if I've ever actually said this on a podcast before, but you're a longtime friend. I have been afraid my entire time doing. I've been doing this 15 years, and I'm afraid to get labeled as a sales training company. I don't think that's what we are. I don't think that's what we do. And I think that people have it's sort of an image or a portrayal in their mind, a conception in their mind of what sales training is, and that's not what we do. And I think by being afraid to talk about who we are and what we really do and what we're great at, that we would get labeled sales trainers. And I had to let go of that. Right, the blockers are in your own mind. That's what I would tell Chris of 4 years ago. The obstacles are in your own mind. They're not in the marketplace.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for opening up and telling me two confessions that you've never told anyone, and now they're out there for everybody to hear. Anything else that you want to tell the audience in terms of where they can find you, where they can reach you, what they should know about you?
Yeah, I mean, so our organization, InnerView Group, it's interviewgroup.com. You will see on there that we are now out there as a B2C sales consultancy. B2C is kind of an interesting space to be in. We work with, more direct to consumer companies. There's a lot of B2B sales consultants, but we really work with big companies, big brands, making sure that their marketing spend doesn't fall on the cutting room floor, that it turns into actual dollars. So turns into actual conversions. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Chris Wallace in the Philadelphia area, and I'm happy to connect with folks.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, from somebody that's worked with you for a long time, I don't think you should ever be worried about being labeled a sales training company, especially because I know about the process that you put everything through and the way you really get to the core of what needs to change inside the organization. Like, I think you guys do a really good job of digging into that, make sure you understand what's happening, what the market needs, and what the sales reps need to be able to say. So it's a lot more about change. I think sales trainers are a lot of top down, and they don't get in and actually start to change things. And so I know that's what you guys do. You guys are great at it. And I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. So thanks again for being on.
And thank you so much. It's been great.